today we've got the race agenda, of course, dividing us as well, and not least by locking Australians out of some of our best bits of scenery, and often for what seems to be flimsy or arbitrary reasons or for superstitions which I'm not convinced are widely shared among Aboriginal people. Now, the latest now. Climbers who've loved climbing Mount Arapiles in the far west of Victoria now worried they're going to be locked out forever after already being banned for 3 years while cultural heritage study dawdles on and on and on. Western Victoria is one of the land councils there, has been slowly checking claims that the climbers could be damaging the area's cultural heritage. Although you might ask, what heritage if the local elders can't identify it in a jiffy? But add this to the list. You know, we've already had Aboriginal groups banned climbing on Uluru, the banned climbing too on Mount Warning in New South Wales because of so-called secret men's business. They've banned visiting the lovely Gunlon Falls in Kakadu, and they hunted down rock climbers spotted in Victoria's Grampians, threatening one alleged climber, of fines of more than $300,000 because there's a ban on climbing there as well. Joining me is geologist Marc Hendrickx, who has campaigned to keep the right to climb our scenery and has written a guide to climbing Ayers Rock. Marc, great to see you again, Marc Hendrickx. Mount Arapiles, what's there that these climbers are supposed to be endangering, and why the delay in identifying it?
Andrew, Mount Arapiles is an outlier of the main Grampians range situated to the northwest of the Grampians. It's an isolated mountain with a similar geology to the Grampians. It's been a haven for rock climbers for decades, for generations now. Those climbers coming from Victoria and across the country and also internationally. At no point has there been any environmental damage by any of the climbing community, and in fact they've actually acted as caretakers for the place. So it's quite amazing that Victorian Parks authorities are now locking them out of the place when they've been looking after it so well for so long. In terms of the Aboriginal heritage in the park, so it's a well-known area for a quarry for constructing stone tools, and there's a small amount of rock art in that area. Again, none of that's been damaged by climbers. In terms of why it's taking so long to get this assessment done, if you look at New South Wales, the National Parks authorities there did extensive anthropological surveys in the 1970s and 80s, and they pretty much covered the whole state. So I imagine something similar would have taken place in Victoria, so that they would have known about these things for quite a long time. So I think it's a reinterpretation by new groups about the significance of some of these finds and their supposed cultural heritage significance. That's one of the problems here.
Well, honestly, where we saw those climbers just in that overlay climbing, I will bet my house there is no Aboriginal art up the side of that mountain. If there's some at the foot of it, then I would have thought it's the work of a couple of days to point it out and rope it off. I mean, what is going on here, do you think? And not just here, but around Australia with all these sites. I haven't even listed all of them, Marc. As you know, I just listed a few. You've campaigned on a number. What's going on? Is this a power flex or a genuine attempt to protect irreplaceable cultural heritage?
I think you're right there. I think it is a power play, and I think it's being driven by an inner-city activist class more so than Aboriginals living in remote communities or near these places themselves. What we're seeing is governments giving in to these activists and the emergence of a horrible form of apartheid where our access to the natural world, to awe and wonder, is being based now on race and ideology rather than the fundamental right of all of us to enjoy the great Australian bush. And it's not just rock climbers that are being affected, Andrew. As you said, there are more places around the country. There's beaches, there's campgrounds, there's lake shores. It's four-wheel drive community. It's the trail riding community. It's horse riders. It's your family wanting to go camping in the bush now that are being affected by some of these decisions. And it's fundamentally wrong that this sort of weird apartheid is emerging in this country.
I agree with you. Now, you've been campaigning a number of these sites. If anyone wants to defend our freedom to walk or climb our landscape. What should they do?
I think Thomas Jefferson said it best. He said that, if a law is unjust, it's not only right to disobey it, it's a moral obligation. It's an obligation to do so. A radio host here in Sydney, Ben Fordham, said it best, probably said, if you want to climb it, just climb it. And we're getting to the point now where the only way forward really is through mass disobedience. So I think that's one of the next stages. For Mount Warning in New South Wales, we've got a petition with the New South Wales Parliament at the moment that's being sponsored by Libertarian Party member John Ruddock. And if we get 10,000 on that petition, we can then get that debated on the floor of the upper house of the New South Wales Parliament. So I'd encourage all your viewers to look out for that petition. If you search Reopen Mount Warning petition on Google, you'll find it. And if we can get 10,000, then we can get, hopefully if we can get Mount Warning reopened, then the pathway will be easier to get these other places protected from being locked out.
Marc Hendrickx, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. After the break,